After the first road course of the season last week at Monza, the field now tackles their first short track of the season at Iowa Speedway for 100 laps. Under the lights, it's going to be an absolute blast bringing you the action around this very fast 7/8 mile oval. Perfect for slam banging, bump and running short track action, and we're here live to bring it all to you for round 6 of the 2023 1UP Superstar Series season. And alongside me to bring you all the action once again is James Ellison. This is going to be a fun race because you're right on the margin of making the race without having to stop for anything. So do you push hard and try and establish as big a lead as you can, or do you conserve a little bit, try and save a little to make sure you're there at the finish line?
Let's just say it all depends on how well you're handling in the race. If you've got a car good enough to remain up front and perhaps even keep ahead of the rest of the field, I would say maybe take it a little easy once you get a big enough lead. But if you're having to fight for every position, I don't think you're going to have much of a choice but to use up extra fuel.
Yeah, it's going to be very tight for these 42 drivers to see what they can do. But that's just one of the exciting variables in 1UP racing. You just never know what's going to happen until the checkered flag flies. And that especially holds true here tonight. As we can now bring you the starting lineup for today's 100 laps of action. It's an all Finguy-Psytomi Motorsports front row with Jeffrey Finguy on pole for the first time this season. Dylan Young, his rookie teammate, alongside him. You have Lane Sanders and Autumn Koger, third and fourth. And J.D. Martin, after a DNF at Monza last time out, he rounds out the top 5. And this could be a critical race for him that he needs to do well in, otherwise he might risk falling out of the top 30.
Yeah, he really needs something because, like you talked about, Monza was just not kind to him. And I think it'd be a great deal for him to even just get something like a top 10. That could definitely save him from having to fight to get in the race.
Absolutely, it's going to be very close for him and for the other 41 drivers in this race. Only time will tell, though, who makes it out in one piece into victory lane by the end of the night. So with that being said, all the cars are lined up on the grid, and we are ready to bring you 100 laps under the lights at Iowa Speedway. For the 1UP Superstar Series at Iowa Speedway, the green flag is mere moments from falling on the field. As an all FPM front row leads us to the green flag, it is Finguy on the inside, Young on the outside, green flag in the air. Dylan Young spun the tires on the start. It looks like he's already fallen back to the third position as Lane Sanders now charges underneath them going into turn 1. Finguy's got an established lead, but that 87 looks like he really wants to take the lead back from this 92, who he considers a very stout competitor.
Very stout competitor indeed, and he's proven it right here. He drove away from Sanders as he tried to, and Young's trying to rebound, but looks like he's going to have a little bit of a struggle here. Koger behind him and J.D. Martin who was inside.
Yeah, the inside line's going to be your best friend, and look at all these cars. You're going to see a lot of that in the early stages of this race as cars try and settle themselves out. You see Koger, who started 4th, already on the top 3 wide, and she tank slaps the wall off of turn 4. That's going to cost her a lot of positions. She's going to fall now from her starting spot of 4th to now just outside the top 10.
That's really unfortunate, but still early on as we look through the rest of the field here and see they're all stacking up behind Devin Fair for some reason.
Looked like he got on the apron in 1 and 2. That might be why the field's stacking up a little bit as Daniel Voiles gets into the wall as well. He's going to slow down a little bit into turn 1, and now he's on the top 3 wide as Finguy extends his lead out front. We're focused on the main action in the middle of the field as everybody tries to sort themselves out in the early stages of Iowa.
Yeah, and I've noticed things have shuffled again here. Sanders was 2nd last we looked, and now he's fallen back to 4th as J.D. Martin, we talked about it, he needs something, and I think that something is sitting right in front of him right now.
Yeah, that something would be the race lead, but he needs to keep things in focus here. Jeffrey Finguy is a very strong racer, especially anywhere you go. He's gotten wins on pretty much every track type in 1UP competition. So, and he's only one win away from tying the all-time record held by Christian Vargas. So if Finguy were to get career win number 10 here today, he's just got to keep a steady wheel, stay out in front of J.D. Martin, and withstand any challenges that might come in his way.
Yeah, you mentioned that the challenge in getting to be at the tie for all-time wins. We all know the goal for one is is to get that tie. The goal for the other, keep that tie from happening. And right now, it's looking like it's going to be an easy one for the tie to take place.
Yeah, because Christian Vargas is running all the way back in the 10th position now. He's 3.2 seconds off the lead now. There's not much he can do at this point to prevent Vargas. Oh, and we've got a little bit of action back here. 3 wide, Austin Holloman, a little bit off the pace in that 9 car. Maybe there's an issue going on with the number 9 machine. You see Jeff Bolton with some slight damage. Cam Cole putting the bumper to Jake McMillan, who's having a pretty rough start to this race. But up front, it's all smooth sailing for Jeffrey Finguy. He's led the opening 8 laps, but J.D. Martin's keeping him in reach.
Yeah, keeping him in reach and keeping him on his toes. That's exactly what JD wants to do right now, as he knows he can't catch that 92, but if he can keep him in range, maybe he can find a way to get by him at some point in the near future.
Because remember, there will be lap traffic to deal with in this race. This track is so small, and there are so many cars in this race, that it's inevitable that the front end of the field will soon catch the back end of the field. It's just a matter of when that would happen. But we still got a lot of racing to go. We are only 10 laps into this race now. We're on lap 11 now. And J.D. Martin's starting to close the gap to Jeffrey Finguy just a little bit. This could be an interesting battle for the lead, as it looks like everybody else is starting to lose touch with the front two.
Yeah, these two keep staying together like this, in single file. They're going to pull away, but they start getting side by side. Who knows? That could bring Dylan Young, Lane Sanders, and even Sam Dodoto and a few others. Provided they're not too far stretched out by the time they get side by side, they could end up back in this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who can keep in touch with this 92, because I'm sure he shared some setup information with his rookie teammate Dylan Young, who's never been to Iowa before. So even in his Nitro National tenure, so this is a whole new racetrack to him. But he's coping with it very nicely. He's running it a lonely third at the moment, which is fine, because as things run right now, he would retake the points lead from the 2 Venta Motorsport cars, who are both struggling at the moment.
Yeah, and that's no bueno for those two, but at least they can fall back on the fact that their year started good, and that means they're not entirely digging out a hole. But JD, he's already working hard on digging as he closes in on the 92.
Yeah, this is going to be really close between these guys for much of the day. Oh, and Austin Holloman, I think I was right when I said he is having an issue with that car. He's parked it on pit road for an extended period. He's been there for the last 4 laps, and I think his race is run and done already, which is a very tough thing. And Mark Davey as well, last week's winner, he had to make a pit stop early, and now he's 2 laps down in 41st position. So a dreadful start of the race for the 01 team, but he knows he can make it to the end, and there's confirmation. Austin Holloman's day is run and done here in the early laps at Iowa. As we look now, this 4-car Austin Runkle making his 2nd career Superstar start. He's got a little bit of damage and he's running at the back, but he's just got to bring this car home in one piece, and I'm sure that'll be a mission accomplished for him. But it was news that broke a few days ago that Justin Henley would return to drive that car full-time starting at Phoenix. A very good opportunity for that driver and that team. We'll see if they can produce results out in the desert.
Yeah, get a little bit of consistency back in that 4-car. I don't doubt Runkle will at least give it everything he's got to get that 4 a good finish. But consistency when it comes to keeping the same driver will be key as we see a battle heating up here.
Yeah, it looks like Finguy was able to beat Martin through 1 and 2. We'll see if that stays the same. They go for 3 and 4. Finguy's running a higher line, I noticed, in 3 and 4 than Martin. We'll see if that actually helps or hurts. But so far, they're keeping pretty same distance from each other, about a 10th and a half. and Martin's just running in the 92's tire tracks. We'll see if at some point he's going to have to get a little more aggressive and hit the go button, use the bumper if necessary, but it's way too early to be thinking about that.
Oh yeah, way too early. You don't want to think about some things too early. There's some things you think about all race, and you don't want to think too far ahead because that can get you in trouble.
It's definitely going to be a matter of wait and see for these guys, because with the lap traffic getting closer every lap, I have a feeling that Martin's going to use the bumper at some point in this race. The question is, when does he use it? Because if he uses it too early, he knows the 92 will be able to use it right back against him. So he's got to time it just right to where the 92 can't make a run on him back.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You don't want to give your opponent an opportunity to use the same move against you, especially if you're battling for the win in the closing laps of a race. I know it's still way early in the race, like we're not quite done with the first quarter yet, but something to think about for sure, as I couldn't help but notice a little bit of a change at the bottom of the top 10.
Yep, that move in the top 10 bumps Christian Vargas out, puts William Brock in the 93. That team's had a rough few weeks as of late. He had a DNF at Atlanta, and then he had a unscheduled stop ruin his day at Monza. So this 93's been on a bit of a backslide lately, but a top 10 run here today could really help him back up the order.
Yeah, that's exactly what he wants to be able to do. He'd like to be up further than that, but if he somehow manages to hit, I shouldn't say somehow, he has the ability to finish top 10 and better. So if he can hang on to a top 10, that would definitely be helpful, but I know he wants to get every position he can, as we see the battle is calming down up front.
Yeah, it looks like Finguy's starting to pull away a little bit from Martin. This might be the point in the race where Martin's starting to back off, conserve his stuff. He knows he's got a car that can bring the challenge to Jeffrey Finguy. He just wants to make sure he can bring it home at the end of the race, because we said at the top of the show, it's a very fine margin if you're able to make it on no stops, or if you have to come in for a splash and dash at the very end. But only time will tell. We said it before, and we'll continue to say it. It's still very early in this race. We just crossed 1/4 distance.
Just crossed it, and we still got 3/4 of a race left as we focus back here. It looks like Denoto's closing in on Young.
Yeah, Sam Denoto had a bit of a hiccup at Atlanta. He blew an engine early and finished last. But every other race, he's been right up there at the front of the field. He got that win at Auto Club, which certainly helped. And how about another good run for this car? Anderson Reed in this 5. He has not missed a step since moving to Ladion Autosport mid-season, and he's running right behind his boss, Cale Tescar Jr., who now tries to make a move on Ortiz, and he's going to allow his own driver underneath him in a battle for 8th place.
And the smart thing here would be to keep it clean, because if these two can't, for whatever reason, could not keep it clean, that is going to be an awkward team meeting on the next day. But they're doing good so far. Anderson, I am really, really enjoying seeing him run up in the top 10 like this.
Like I said, this is a guy, I've said it before, this is a guy who just gets better and better every season he contests in the 1UP Superstar Series. A fantastic run for him today, as his team owner, Tescar, gets pushed up high, continues to lose spots. He lost one to Brock, and he's going to lose one to Ben McDonnell as well. But back up at the front, Martin's starting to close the gap back in on Finguy. This battle might not be over yet.
Oh, I don't think it's going to be over unless something drastic happens to one of them. But honestly, JD's just doing what he can. I think he might even be testing to see how good he can catch up after he's backed off, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
And we're only on lap 30, and there's still a lot that can happen in the remaining 70 laps of this race. It's just a matter of wait and see. As we look back through the rest of the field, see where your favorite driver's running in the order here. You see 40 cars on the lead lap, 41 still running. Austin Holloman with an engine failure. Mark Davey 2 laps down after an early pit stop. But for the most part, everybody's keeping in touch with each other. The whole field separated by 15 seconds. But at some point, they're going to string out, and these two are probably going to catch the tail end first. And it's who navigates those lap cars best, and that might decide the outcome here in Iowa.
we've seen lap cars affect things before, and you're right. It could be a factor again today. Then as we see, yeah, Finguy and Martin, they put a gap just back to Dylan Young right here. That's what single file running will do. But most of the field, not I'd say most of the front runners haven't really been fighting or anything. It's just these two have been the cream of the crop so far.
Oh, Martin got a bit of a push in 3 and 4. That might hurt him a little bit off the corner. We'll see if that reflects in the lap times. He kept the same distance between him.
He closed in a little bit here.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a good 1 and 2 down. He just can't get the run through 3 and 4. We saw something similar last night as well, where the trailing driver had such a bad push in one set of corners, but nailed the other side. So the same thing might be happening to JD Martin, but he's still keeping in touch with the 92. You're right in that Ford Mustang's tire track, so this could be very interesting to see who can prevail in this battle of wills.
Yeah, it will be interesting to watch as the gap closes just a little bit more yet again. But we've seen it time and time again, race after race. When you get a battle like this, sometimes the second place driver will be able to get by the leader no problem. Other times it's like this, where it takes a little bit of work and continuing to try to find a way to get by.
Yeah, Martin's not giving up though. He's doing whatever he can to. He's going to try a higher entry into the corner, maybe diamond it off a little bit, but he's still running a little higher than the 92. That might be to generate a little more momentum on corner exit. But here he dives off, and he's actually lower than the 92 this time around. So just experimenting a little bit with different lines, seeing what works, because we're closing in on halfway pretty quickly.
Yeah, quicker than some people would like to see, especially considering this race has gone green so far. And I don't want to jinx anybody, so I won't talk too highly of anyone. But got a lot of people doing really good tonight.
And then you have these three at the back, the BTB Motorsports trio, all running 38th through 40th. Jason Parker, Brandon Beal, and Cam Cole. Those three are probably going to be the first lap cars that these two will catch. So it'll be interesting to see how many of the BTB cars these two will be able to get by the end of this race, and how much of a fight they'll put up to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing. We talk about fights for the top 10, top 15 and all that, but sometimes people forget that when it comes to lap cars, they don't want to if they know they got a good enough car to stay on the lead lap, they are not going to just back off and let them through.
Oh, no doubt. They've got their own race to run with or without the leaders in their way. So, and Martin lost a ton of time on that lap. He lost a couple tenths on that occasion. But he's still hanging in there, but he's starting to lose time to Jeffrey Finguy. We'll see if the lap cars play a factor. They're about a straightaway ahead of Finguy now. It's just a matter of time, I think, before they get caught. We'll have to wait and see who gets the advantage, Finguy or Martin.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see. We've seen it. I keep talking about it. We're gonna see it again. Just how quickly one can get through traffic versus the other, and that has been a deciding factor in races before.
It sure has, because we've seen lap cars completely change the outcome of a race in the past. Hopefully that doesn't happen here, because we'd like to see the leaders put on a good show all by themselves, but there's a little intrigue thrown in as well with lap traffic getting in the way, and hopefully making it a little bit more of a challenge for these guys.
You can't have smooth sailing all the time, because if you get smooth sailing all the time, you're going to start expecting it, and then when you start having a challenge, you're not going to know what to do. And I would say with these guys having experience like this, that shouldn't be the case, but you never know.
You never know, indeed. But these two have pulled quite the gap over third place Dylan Young. The margin, 3.1 seconds between the two teammates on either side of JD Martin. You can barely see Young in the picture anymore. These two have gotten so far ahead. But you never know what's going to happen. These two could have a little incident, and near the end of the race, and Dylan Young could sweep through to take a maiden win. You never know what happens in this series. We've seen crazier things happen at Iowa in the past, but we have not been here for this series, or in any of our series, for that matter, since 2020. So, not many of these drivers are used to racing here. Finguy's one of them, Martin's one of them, but not everybody is accustomed to racing on this short track.
That's definitely going to be an advantage for those who've been here before. And you talk about Finguy, it's definitely paying off right now.
Yeah, he's doing a pretty good job. You can see that he's keeping a lead over JD Martin. He's doing whatever he can. I'm just starting to wonder who's being more cautious on their mileage here, because you'll get to that point where the car lightens up and the handling changes when the fuel burns off. So we see it a lot in open wheel racing, but it definitely happens in stock cars as well. When the car gets lighter on fuel, the handling characteristics change drastically.
Oh, without a doubt. And I've noticed a few shuffles in the back half of the top 10. William Brock has moved up a couple more spots, and I no longer see the 5 of Anderson Reed.
Yeah, it looks like Reed's fallen back to the 13th position, which is still a good run for him, and he's still got half the race to make it back up. Lane Sanders has fallen out of the top 5. He now runs 8th in this race, ahead of Teskar and Vargas, who round out the top 10 now. This has been probably the best start to a season Lane Sanders has ever had. He entered this race 5th in the points, and with a run like this, he should easily be able to hang on to it.
Oh yeah, that momentum is exactly what he needs. We talked about it before, how his 2022 went. It's complete opposite of what he's dealing with this year so far.
Certainly can't hurt to have a good run in the top 10 week in and week out, and that is what he's been doing so far. This will be his second top 10 of the year if he can accomplish it. But back at the front of the field, it is still Martin, and it's still chasing Finguy. The gap now 0.3 of a second as we've passed halfway. Finguy now locks up the point for the most laps led, and that could be critical when we get to Daytona in the fall.
Absolutely, and he's pretty much dominating right now. And JD Martin back there, he's just thinking, "What do I gotta do? I've got less than half of the race now. I gotta find a way to get by him and steal this one from him."
There's got to be some gears turning in that head, trying to find a way around. But there's still a lot of time left. There's still 48 laps to go. Anything's still possible. We've seen crazier things happen than that. But you see Martin's tucked up right behind Finguy right now. And the gap is the smallest it's been all race long. This could be the move right here if he gets aggressive enough. But I don't know if he's going to make the move just yet, because here come the leaders towards the back end of the field.
Yep, it's about to be lap car time, and we haven't talked about him, but I'm sure that if you were up front, our old friend Fitzy would be upset, and I'm sure Finguy and Martin will be equally upset if they struggle as bad as it could be for them. But we're about to find out just how well this goes.
Yeah, the back end of the field is a couple hundred slower per lap than these two out front. But keep in mind, Parker, Beal, and Cole, they're all fighting each other at the moment. So these guys should be able to rock up on the back end pretty quickly. It's just a matter of how fast they can get around these three Chevrolets and if they can set off after the cars ahead of them.
Oh yeah, this is going to be fun to watch. I keep saying it, and I'm kind of lost for words on what to say at the moment as we go through the back of the top 10, and you just see right there, the Autumn Coger's not too far out of there as well, and Vargas has fallen back out, but he's not going to stay back there, I don't think.
Yeah, you never want to count out a two-time defending champion from anything, even if he hasn't had the best start to the season in the world. But expect him to be a contender when we get to Homestead at the end of the year, that's for sure. All the while, we've had one contender in this race so far, that being Jeffrey Finguy. He has led all 57 laps so far. We'll see if he can gain on he can pull an advantage on JD Martin. The gap's now 0.6 of a second. That's as big as it's been pretty much all race. But you can see him. Brandon Beal and the rest of his team are starting to get swallowed up by the 92 and the 66. We'll see what they can do to hold these guys back.
Yeah, he's gonna have to try, but honestly, I just think the 92 and the 66 are going to be too strong for any of these back markers to do anything to keep from being a lap down and within a few laps.
And to top it all off, JD Martin actually has the fastest lap of the race right now, so he'll get a bonus point for that, even if he doesn't lead a lap tonight, which I hope he does. It would be a great thing to see a battle for the lead between these two brewing. But here they are. Finguy has caught Brandon Beal. We'll see how long he gets stuck behind the 37, because this could change a lot about this race.
Yeah, honestly, and he's not I'm stumbling over my words. Diving to the inside. That's what I was trying to say. But he's just not diving to the inside, which is kind of interesting. And he keeps staying behind this 37. It could allow that 66 to catch up, and it already is.
Yeah, he gained about half the deficit on that lap alone. So the longer Finguy stays behind Beal and gets frustrated by it, the more opportunities it gives the 66 to make a move for the top spot. And let's see what happens going into turn one. No, they're going to stay single file for the moment.
Yeah, it looked like Martin tried to peek a little bit more than Finguy.
Whoa, Martin tried to move, but Finguy slammed the door on him. They're both going to get by Brandon Beal here in a moment. Finguy puts Beal a lap down, and hopefully Martin will follow him through. And with Beal into the wall now, that should be a certainty through 1 and 2.
Yeah, that was a very bold move, and had that been ill-timed, we would have been looking at our first caution of the night. But they kept it together, and now they just got to reset, refocus, and prepare to deal with the rest of the lap traffic ahead of them.
Definitely will be interesting to see, because here comes Cam Cole and Jason Parker, the lesser experienced of these BTB Motorsports guys. They definitely know how to race. They've made the field for all but a couple of races this season so far. It's just a matter of they're not used to racing the likes of Finguy and Martin. So, how are they going to navigate? How are they going to get out of the way for these guys while also maintaining competitive pace against each other? Oh, wait a second. Hold that thought. Martin puts the bumper to the back of the 92. This could be the move for the lead we've been waiting all night for.
Yeah, except Martin's the one behind the two lap cars. But, Finguy went a little wide there. And now the 66 peeking inside of Cam Cole. But for the moment, JD Martin has the lead.
First lead change of the night, and it goes to JD Martin. His perseverance has massively paid off. He's now got a good lead over Jeffrey Finguy, who goes wide through 3 and 4. And Martin gets on the apron a little bit in 3 and 4. So they've each made mistakes in the last lap, and that has allowed the gap to stay the same. Now Finguy makes a charge on the outside.
Yeah, they're starting to play mind games with each other, and I believe that was Roberto Crown Jr. coming off pit road.
Yeah, it was. He's got, and it looks like he's coming back in as well. Looks like he's got further problems with that 81, and that is a shame because he's had a good start to the year. A heartbreaking miss at Auto Club Speedway, followed by a few more good runs this year. He's gonna get his first one eventually. It's not gonna be tonight though.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but He'll have a chance to bounce back. There's other races, like you said, and he'll eventually get one as we look back to the lead here.
Yeah, right now, Martin's still stuck behind the 27. We'll see if he can actually make gains on him. But here he comes down to the inside, so Martin should be able to clear Cole through 3 and 4, and hopefully for Martin, Finguy has a little tougher time getting by the 27 to maybe stretch the lead out as Crown returns to the race 3 laps down.
Yeah, and now Crown being in the position he's in, he could end up being in the way of the leaders if things are really as bad as they're looking for him. But we'll have to wait and see on that. But right now, we still got a lot going on up there in the front.
It actually looks like they found a nice gap to slot him into on the racetrack. They put him between William Brock and Lane Sanders, so maybe if Crown is... He's got fresher tires than everybody else. He might be able to unlap himself at least once by the end of this thing. It's just a matter of if that car has any more problems that we don't know about yet. But, Martin doing everything he can to get around the 76 of Parker. He's just not able to do it. And Finguy's now right to his bumper once again.
Yeah, but I also couldn't help but notice, maybe while we were focusing on what was going on with Crown, I think the 27 got rooted out of the way because he is now behind Beal. And Finguy goes wide just a little bit here, but Martin's still stuck behind the 76, so it don't matter much.
Yeah, we have 37 cars on the lead lap now, 41 still running, Holloman the only retirement with an engine failure. But this race has been electrifying from start to finish. Even if we haven't had a lot of passing for the lead, it's still been a great battle regardless, as Martin now finally puts the bumper to the back of the 76. And, well, if he dives it off in the turn 1 real hard, with a push from the 92, he should be able to get underneath the 76, and he does.
Yeah, I think Finguy only helped him just to ensure that once he's cleared that they can actually settle amongst themselves and not have lap car interference, because we are closing in on the final quarter of this race, and honestly don't think that these two want to have to deal with the lap traffic while they fight for the win.
And speaking of lap traffic, that a bit of a surprise to see at the back. Jared Polanski's now the last car on the lead lap in 36th place. Polanski, after having such a good run at Monza last week, now he's on the verge of going a lap down. Same with Emma Carter in the 70. So, it just goes to show how close this field really is when you have front runners like Polanski and Carter at risk of going a lap down as we have entered the final quarter of this race.
That is, I don't know what to say. Those two, well, Carter's had a pretty good start to the season, so seeing her back there is kind of shocking, but everybody has their off days, and looks like it's her turn tonight.
Hopefully they'll at least be able to make it without pitting. That'll be a solace for them if they can make that happen. But right now it's Martin who's setting the pace out front by a quarter of a second over Finguy. They've cleared the 3 BTB cars, and next up the road for them is Jared Polanski. So, and if there's anyone who would not want to get to lose a spot on the lead lap and who would fight these leaders very hard to keep it, it would be Jared Polanski in that 18.
Oh, I don't doubt that for a second, because he's used to being up further in the field where he's less at risk of going a lap down. So being told by the spotter, leaders are coming up on you slowly but surely, that's got to be putting a little bit of panic in him.
The question is, will they catch him in time? Because there's only 21 laps to go now. We're starting to get to that point in the race where it's going to be you see Polanski, Carter, Duke Anzak's back there as well, Chris Lattimore as well. These are good cars about to go a lap down to the leaders. The question is, will they catch them in time? We only have 20 to go now, and I think it's going to come down to these two for the win, because Dylan Young is 3 seconds off the lead, and I think he just now caught the back end of the BTB bunch.
Yeah, and you mentioned Lattimore. That's kind of a sad thing, because he didn't have a great starting spot, but he was in a pretty good one, and to be where he is now, that's real unfortunate. But it's how the cookie crumbles sometimes as the battle for the lead heats up once again.
Yeah, Finguy, he's biding his time. I think he's waiting for that last stretch because he wants to push the 66 as hard as he can to burn off more in the tank. We'll see if it's enough at the end, but it's a matter of wait and see, because we still have 18 laps to go, and a lot can happen between now and then. We could get a caution to shake things up, and everybody pits, and fuel won't be an issue anymore, which of course would be a huge problem for guys like Roberto Crown Jr., Mark Davey, guys who have already pitted. So it's just a matter of wait and see till we find out what happens at the end of this race. You see Carter with a lot of damage on the right side. Maybe she got into the wall a few too many times, but we're closing in on the end now. 17 laps to go, and Martin keeping Finguy at arm's reach.
Even in arm's reach, and I think these lap traffic will be a factor. We see the 70 up there in the picture and a few others, so this battle is about to get interesting yet again.
When is it not, though, is the question. As Lattimore gets up against the wall, he's going to lose out big. I think he's going to be the next one the leaders catch. Oh, and he gets into the wall again off of turn 2, so he's definitely going to get lapped here in a moment. So it looks like Stephen Gale's headed for the pits, so he's had a miserable time since he joined Latian Autosport. This has just been a rough stretch of races. He had a bad run at Atlanta, he had a bad run at Monza, and I think it's going to continue here as Stephen Gale has to come in early.
Yeah, that is unfortunate because I'm pretty sure he went into this team change thinking things could get better, and well, we see how that's gone so far. But I believe he'll have a chance for things to get better for him soon enough, as Polanski and Carter are in the way of the leaders now.
And I think Finguy knows that he's trying to run a different line to try and stay out from behind the 18 and the 70 and even the 83 in front of them. I think Finguy's now trying to experiment, see which line works best for him to see if he can get a run on the 66 by the end of this race. We have 13 laps to go from Iowa. J.D. Martin's been up front for about a quarter of this race. Jeffrey Finguy's led the rest of the way. And they've got such a big lead over third place. I think it's going to be a battle between these two. Oh, Martin goes wide for 3.
Yeah, I think he had to check up a little bit because of Polanski and Carter ahead of him, but I don't know. He's still hanging in there if he can duck down low again, and nope, Finguy peeking in there.
Oh, this is going to be real close for these guys. But we're closing in on the final 10, and regardless of who wins this race, it'll be fully deserved. These two have put on quite the show for the fans here at Iowa Speedway. The stands are always packed here, and for good reason. These guys have been putting on quite a show. We're down to the final 11 laps. We'll see who can come out on top.
Yeah, right now I think J.D. Martin's just saying, I don't care if I can get past these two ahead as long as I keep the 92 behind me. But I think he'd rather put these two a lap down because and hope that the 92 gets caught up. But we've seen it already. These two do not stay away from each other for long.
No, the gap's all the way back down to just 1/10 as we're into the final 10 laps. Martin and Finguy, nose to tail, trying to get their first each of their first wins of the season. For J.D. Martin, it would be the 6th of his career. For Jeffrey Finguy, it would be a record-tying 10th. But we still have about 9 laps to decide who's going to win here at Iowa.
Yeah, and I know you talk about record-tying for Finguy. If there's one person who's a fan of J.D. Martin right now among the competitors of these two, it is our two-time defending champion, currently running 10th, Christian Vargas. He wants the 66 to be in victory lane.
Well, I'm sure he'd love one of his own cars in victory lane, but if he can't have that, I'm sure he'd like to keep his record intact. But as we look back now, you see Young, Denoto, and Hutchinson. They've caught the BTB group now. It's probably too little, too late for them. So at this stage of the race, it's going to come down to these two. Question is, when's Finguy going to get more aggressive and maybe bump the 66 out of the way?
Aggression is a fine thing until it causes you to either wreck yourself or wreck yourself with the person you're trying to get out of the way. But right now, Finguy doing what Martin did earlier, being patient, although I think patience might be out the window at this point. Ooh.
Time's running out, and Finguy's all over the back of the 66. Gap's now under a 10th of a second. Can Finguy put the bumper to the back of the 66? Not quite this time. But as they come off of turn 2, this could be really big for the rest of this race. They're coming to 5 laps to go this time. This is critical. And you see Roberto Crown Jr. up ahead. There is clearly something wrong with that car. He's about to go a 4th lap down now.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate, and he's wisely staying clear of the leaders as Polanski's still being basically being a bane of J.D. Martin's existence right now, finally getting inside of him.
Yeah, I think for Polanski, the game might be up. He finally goes a lap down to the race leader, J.D. Martin. but we now only have 4 laps to go. The intensity starting to pick up, and Polanski now gets underneath Martin, who gets pushed up high. This could be the opportunity Finguy's looking for, but he gets tied off too. Finguy into the wall.
Oh no!
Hard into the wall goes Jeffrey Finguy, and he just lost all momentum he could have had as Jeff Bolton makes his way to the pits. He might be running on fumes.
Ah, man, that's definitely a race changer right there, because that just gives JD Martin free and clear to not really push the issue. Although I think you'd rather be done with Polanski right at this point, because
you talk about race changers. Martin's going for the pits. Martin's out of gas. I can't believe what's happening. Jeffrey Finguy's back to the lead with 2 laps to go as a lot of cars make their way to the pits. They're running out of gas, and all the while Jeffrey Finguy's going to be gifted a race win if he can hang on for 2 more laps.
Yeah, and that this is, I don't know what to say. We're coming up on the white flag. Finguy has to hang on for 1 more lap and hope that having to back off with that wall slap will be enough to save him this win.
Coming through 1 and 2 for the final time. It's going to be, if things stay the way they are, a Finguy-Psytomi Motorsports 1-2 finish. They're the first in their history. Coming through 3 and 4 for the final time. Finguy's going to make it on fuel. The record will be equaled, and Jeffrey Finguy takes his 10th career win at Iowa Speedway in a nail-biting finish that really was completely decided when JD Martin ran out of gas with just 2 laps remaining.
I thought I spoke too soon when thinking about it, and man, I know JD has had a few wins before, but heartbreak for not being able to get another one here tonight. And just when he thought that it was going to be a win for him with the 92 smacking the wall, his gas tank said nope.
So Dylan Young comes home second, Sam Donato third, Ortiz and Hutchinson ran that to top 5. Vargas 6th on the end of the day, a great run for him. And as you look for the rest of the field, big shout out to this guy, Roger James, in his Superstar debut. He brings it home 13th with everybody else running out of gas. And it looks like right now he's also out of gas as he coasts back to the pit lane.
Yeah, you talk about good results. We hadn't talked about him except for at the beginning of the race. Austin Runkle, with the way things played out, he got a good finish out of this one, and Autumn Koger got a top 10 after all from all this.
Lane Sanders comes home 7th, Cale Tescar Jr. 8th, Koger 9th, and Anderson Reed does get a top 10 finish. Great run for him. He runs out the top 10, but for JD Martin, after leading 30-something laps of this race, and looking set for victory, he'll have to bring it home 24th at the end of this one.
That's going to be a hard pill to swallow. That's going to sting for a bit. Kind of like what happened with Crown at Auto Club, but he'll be able to rebound and work back to better chances another day.
Yep, so what a crazy finish we had at Iowa Speedway. That's how you come back in style. And another quick shout out to the Motor Dash Racing cars. They bring it home 11th and 12th after a struggling start to the season. Great run for them. But the One-Up Racing Series is off. And for all of our series for next week, we'll be back with all 3 of them in 2 weeks' time at Phoenix Raceway for round number 7 of the One-Up Superstar Series season. And for JD Martin, his first chance at redemption after what could have gone so right for him. So, from James Ellison and from myself as well, we say goodbye from Iowa Speedway. Our commiserations go out to JD Martin. He was in perfect position, ran out of gas, and that gave Finguy-Psytomi Motorsports a 1-2 finish, with Jeffrey Finguy getting his record-tying 10th career win. He and Vargas atop the list for all-time wins.